Yes.
Have you been to Africa after that?
After that, yeah.
Did you feel the same thing?
Yeah.
Was it as intense as the first
In fact,
time?
my second trip to Africa was to tour South Africa. And, you know, my family, I grew up in a family of activists. Not only my parents, but my older sisters. My oldest sister in particular, like, would come home from college when I was 9 or 10 years old, saying stuff like, we're not going to drink Coca-Cola because they're invested in apartheid. We're not going to do this because they're invested in apartheid. So we had all these things in the house that had to do with apartheid growing up. So when I finally was asked to tour South Africa.
When was it?
That was in 2003, the first time I went. And the first time I went there was after my film Slam had come out, which was a commercial success in South Africa. And so then I did my first reading in Soweto. And I'm like, I know about Soweto. And I stand up to read one of my poems. I have a poem called Shaklak Klak. It goes something like, if I could find the spot where truth echoes, I would stand there and whisper memories of my children's future. I would let their future dwell in my past so that I might live a brighter now. Now is the essence of my domain, and it contains all that was and will be, and I am as I was and will be, because I am and always will be that nigger. I am that nigger. I am that nigger. I am that timeless nigger that swings on pendulums like vines through minds of booby-trapped minds that are enslaved by time. I am the life that supersedes lifetimes I am. It was me with serpentine hair and a timeless stare that with the mortal glare turned mortal fear into stone time capsules. They still exist as the walking dead as I do, the original sufferhead, symbol of life and matriarchy, severed head Medusa. I am. It was me, the ecclesiastical one, that pointed out that there was nothing new under the sun, and through times of laughter and times of tears, that no times are real times because all times are fear. The wise seer Solomon. I am. It was me with tattered clothes that made you scatter as you shuffled past me on the street. Yes, you shuffled past me on the street as I stood there conversing with wind-blown spirits. And I fear it's yours. You didn't stop and talk to me. I could have told you your futures. I explained your present. But instead, I'm the homeless schizophrenic you resent for being aimless. The in-tuned nameless. I am. I am that nigger. I am that nigger. I am a Negro. Yes, Negro. Negro from necro, meaning death. I overcame it so they named me after it. And I be spitting at death from behind and putting kick me signs on its back because I am not the son of Shaklak Klak. So I read that poem. The thing is, when I did, I didn't know that there was a DJ there named Rude Boy Paul, who had a popular show on a popular station there called YFM, who played that poem every day for 2 years straight at 12 o'clock at the beginning of his show. So when I stood up to recite that poem and everyone in the audience started reciting it with me, was another time that I cried. Yeah, it was like, what? You know?
It's scaring.
So it was even more intense the next time I went to Africa because South Africa also, because of apartheid and its relationship there, is very related to America. You know, like it's been colonized in a way that we relate to, you know, as African Americans, and so there are ways that I felt, you know, at home and what have you, and it was such a unique experience. And then to go there and find out that my words had reached before I did was surreal.
Then again, the power of the words.
Yeah.
Do you feel for the past few decades, do you feel the world has been improving, is becoming a better place?
Certainly. I believe that that sort of thing is inevitable. And it's inevitable that at the same time, you know, we now have a 24-hour news cycle and what have you, and so lots of topics and issues are always sensationalized, and there's the propaganda of fear, especially in countries like America, that make people think that, you know, things are getting worse and, oh my God, lock your doors. But the fact of the matter is, there are more people, more literate people today than ever before. There are more people, you know, with access to food and what have you than ever before. And now with the help of the internet, there are more people who already have that privilege and access who are able to help when they learn about something, like, for instance, like with the tsunami or Haiti. It's always nice to know that countries make efforts, but now because of the internet, we can see how individuals take it upon themselves to say, oh, I'm giving right now, that's easy, or I'm going right now, you know? And so, yeah, I think that, I believe that the earth in many ways is self-healing, regardless of how much damage we do to it. But I do think at the same time that it's great to be living in an age where so many people are aware that we have to be careful with how much damage we do to the earth.
And what about racism in America?
What about it?
How good or how bad is it?
Well, you know, let me be clear.
You say the war is not against racism, it's against race, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So that I believe that race is a social construct. I don't believe that there's truly anything scientific to differentiate my brain from yours. But the color of my skin might differentiate my experience from yours. And so a lot of people become prejudiced based on differences in experience. But racially speaking, there's nothing to differentiate us. There's one blood. That being said, does everyone in America or in the rest of the world think like that?
No.
Not yet. But are more people realizing the importance of thinking like that? I hope so. But that's not just with race. That's also with religion. That's also with nationality. All of those boundaries which make us say, you know, me versus you. You know, one of my favorite poets is a Sufi poet by the name of Hafiz, you know, and a Persian poet. And he has there's a part of a poem that I remember that's really simple, and it simply says, "The other is a lie." There is no other. There's only one. There's only one. But we have a lot to do in order to get to that point where we can celebrate that. And we can't deny imperialism. We can't deny the fact that, you know, that languages disappear, cultures disappear, and we're sensitive about that. You know, and so we fight to maintain the old way and the old rules and what have you. But we also work to find a way to give up some of the old ways and learn how to text. You know, like my mom texted me the other day, and I'm like, "Oh, Mom, you're texting." Oh. You know?
You said there is no other, and I thought about this interview I saw from you, where you say that you first started looking to the world by looking into yourself.
Yes. Yes. Truly. I mean, I think that in many ways, each and every one of us is a microcosm of the macrocosm that is this planet, you know? And so there are ways in which I don't necessarily I do work on becoming a better writer and songwriter and all of those things, but all of those things really come from the work that I'm doing at becoming a more balanced and harmonious individual, you know, a more graceful citizen of humanity, you know, of this species. You know, and within that, I find that through that process of working on myself, I'm better able to empathize with others in any given situation, because I'm automatically thinking, oh, I know what that feels like. I feel that way sometimes, and I try to stop myself from talking about myself too much, or you know, whatever it is. You know, so that I think that, you know, that's why I think you'll find it on the walls of pyramids, know thyself. You know, it is true that we can understand a lot about humanity if we truly take the time to get to know ourselves better. And to take that out of a general context, what that could also mean is, for instance, I'm vegetarian, right?
Or vegan.
But I wasn't raised that way. I was raised eating all types of, you know, everything from meat to fried chicken to feijoada to, you know, like to all of those things, you know. But what's interesting is that when I became a vegetarian, I suddenly started, and as a male, this was really interesting, started noticing changes in my body. Oh, when I eat,
for instance,
when I eat red meat, it makes me tired. I had never thought tired, sleepy.
Yeah,
I had never thought about that. You know, I had never thought about how different foods. Oh, when I eat fresh green vegetables, I stay up really late. I thought that was only from coffee. But it happens with green foods as well. So that attention that I pay to myself and to my diet and to these feelings in my body helped me better understand, you know.
Do you think being a vegetarian is a choice, or for you it's the correct choice?
Oh, no, it's just a personal choice. I would never say that's what everybody needs to do, although I taught a class once at Stanford where I made everybody become vegetarian for a semester. But the only reason why I did that was because I wanted them to see, to make a connection for themselves between, they all wanted me to monitor their creative output. And I thought, well, if you want me to monitor your creative output, I'm not interested in doing that unless you monitor your creative input. realize that your diet is only what you eat, it's what you read, it's what you listen to, it's what you watch, all of that. In terms
your
of
diet, you see the diet as a creative input?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Diet is definitely a creative input. You're choosing, you know, like, what's your poison? You know, what are you into? You know, do you want some binga? Do you want some whiskey? Do you want some vegetables? Do you want some grains? You know, like, what are you into? You know, and if you're working on yourself as an experiment, you can try those different things. Like, if you listen to Metallica for a week, you might have one experience versus if you listen to João Gilberto for a week. You'll think differently. That's also your diet. If you watch TV for a week nonstop versus if you don't watch TV all week as a discipline, that's also your diet. If you talk about the things that upset you every day for a week versus if you make a decision to not complain for a week, that's your diet.
And that changes your feelings.
And it affects you.
Your emotions.
Yeah, exactly. It all has quantifiable effects on you. And so, for me, I realized that when especially because I don't belong to a religion or what have you, that it does help, though, to have personal disciplines. Vegetarianism is just a personal discipline that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. I love the taste of meat, but I don't like referring to other life forms simply as meat, right? And so part of my discipline is in distancing myself from that. And as an American, in America particularly, I think that can be really important just because our practices with food and all of the, you know, the mass manufacturing of milk and chicken. We kill 1 million chickens an hour in America, which means there's no way that can be done hygienically. We artificially inseminate our cows so that they stay pregnant 12 months out of the year so that we have that much milk to go every place. And then we have these high cancer rates and all this other stuff. For me, it's fun to stay away from that, you know. And yeah, in my own way, it does make me feel. I feel lighter. I feel the difference, you know. Like if I were preparing for a fight, you know, maybe I'd take more of the warrior position. Give me it raw, you know. But I'm not preparing for a fight, you know. I'm preparing for the end of fighting.
When you changed that creative input, did it reflect on your writing?
Yes, certainly. And that's part of what I enjoy.
What were the changes? Well, can you point them, or it's just a matter? It's just about feelings and emotions.
It's more than feelings and emotions. It's a matter of observation, right? So that what it did was that it made me disassociate certain ideas from other ideas, you know, so that when I thought of eating separately from I just want to feel full versus I want to feel energized, it affected everything. And in my writing, that's a philosophical difference. Seeking to be energized versus seeking to just be, you know, gorged, you know, it's something. It changes everything.
Do you choose poetry or music when you want to express different feelings? Are there feelings that fit better music and feelings that fit better poetry? Or
I don't think it's feelings. There certainly, like I this is my journal. Mm-hmm. You know, I keep a journal, and there are times usually when I'm writing music, the idea that comes first is musical. So I'm sitting at a piano or picking up a guitar or something, and usually when I'm writing music, I write the music first, and then the music is what inspires what words come with it. When a poem comes, words come first, and so then I'm writing in my journal and what have you. And if you were to go through my journal, you'd see stuff where I'm collecting thoughts, which eventually I could edit and transform into poems. And then on the other hand, you'll see stuff where I obviously am listening to music and kind of writing to a beat or to a melody.
There's a melody, yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, one is more reactive and one is more instantaneous, but they're both connected.
So do you want to say goodbye to us with a poem?
Sure. Sure. However, maybe I'll read something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'll just say goodbye.
Yeah.
And you finish the program with this poem.
Obrigado.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Muito obrigado para você.
Muito obrigado nós. E nós